If you like the video, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more videos like this.
I found out my GF was in a SB/SD relationship. I didn't end it. But she did. My GF and I met at a bar one night when she noticed me singing karaoke. We talked briefly, then proceeded to leave the bar and had sex. Fast forward 7 months, we break up at a bar, drunk, and out of the blue. I haven't had a serious relationship since my first love in high school, so when things turned towards dating 7 months ago, I came prepared with the lessons I had learned in order to be a kind, caring, understanding, communicative, honest, and patient boyfriend. She, on the other hand, lacked some of these qualities. I looked past it and was patient with her as she explained to me that she had trust and intimacy issues from her relationship history, but that she would improve as she grew to trust and care about me. Things were going smoothly with the occasional bump in the road of two people becoming acquainted with each other's beliefs and opinions. All in all, things were going well and I loved her. This brings us to 4 months into the relationship. We were hanging out one day watching TV when she received a text from an unknown number. Not thinking much of it, I casually asked who it was, but she turned her phone away quickly and told me it was her dad. "You don't have your dad's contact saved?" "No, he just got a new number and I haven't saved it yet. I'm really bad about saving people's numbers." Okay, weird, but whatever. I didn't think much of it until a couple hours later, she received a text from, you guessed it, her dad. I decided not to bring it up and gave her the benefit of the doubt that I missed her saving her dad's contact. But it stuck in my head, and every possibility began to bounce around in my head. I am a classic overthinker and managed to keep this from getting to me for roughly 2 days, when an opportunity made itself available to me. My GF and I had gone out one night, and when we reached her place, she went to bed and passed out almost immediately, leaving her phone in the kitchen where she left it when she entered the apartment. I had no scheme or plan, and am not proud or justifying what I did, but I found myself with the most insatiable urge to seek out the truth in that moment, even if it meant violating her privacy and going on her phone. I knew her password and didn't want to violate her privacy extensively, so I only opened up Messenger and scrolled to find a conversation with an unknown number. Quickly enough, I found a muted conversation and didn't brace myself sooner for the gut punch. It was a conversation with another man, with him asking prices for things like anal or BJ's. She had a good amount of messages with the guy spanning about a week, almost 2. He had asked for a photo and she sent a butt pic which she had previously sent to me before. He had asked, the BF wouldn't mind if I slapped it. With her responding, you can slap it. I was disgusted. Not only was she having this discussion about prostituting herself, but the guy knew about me and brought it into his roleplay fantasy with her. I could barely think straight and it felt like I drowning. I thought we cared about each other, but clearly my GF was a completely different person from everything I came to know and cherish. Like I said, I couldn't think straight. I woke her up from her drunken sleep and confronted her immediately. She proceeded to tell me I was being crazy and didn't take me serious until she opened her eyes and saw me holding her unlocked phone. Reality set in for her quick and she explained to me that it was her sugar daddy. The SD was a friend of her dad's, and when she told him she was having a tough time financially, he was more than happy to help her out. She told me that they would only text, and that he liked to ask and say suggestive things, like pricing for his pleasure. She said she would play along because she didn't have to do anything and she would meet in the parking lot of the restaurant he worked at to collect a couple $100 every once in a while. I asked about the photo and she explained that he wanted a nude, but she thought it was harmless if it was just a butt pic. She began to cry and told me she was embarrassed, that if I was going to break up with her to do it now and to leave her. My heart softened. I loved her, and I wanted to hear her out, understand her, and believe her. So we sat and talked about it. She assured me that she was only talking to him for that week because she just quit her last job to start another one as a hostess the following week, and needed to make sure she covered rent. She said she would end it finally and wash her hands of being a sugar baby. So I decided to work on processing it and move forward with our relationship. The following days were not easy. I didn't understand the world of sugar relationships other than what I had seen in shows, such as going on vacations as a younger partner. This clearly wasn't the case, as she was always in town, we were together often, and she wasn't involved with someone like she was with me. She also explained that if she was truly prostituting herself, she would be getting more money and would have expensive things to show for it, which she didn't. So I tried my best to believe her, however, I wanted to fully understand. So for the next couple days I asked her questions every once in a while to gain a full understanding of the situation. I was very calm when bringing it up, and always brought it up in a kind way, avoiding any accusatory tone, but she would become defensive. Once I had gained a good understanding and felt that I could begin to trust her again, it was put to bed, with some caveats. She made it clear to me that if I couldn't get over it, ever snooped through her phone again, or violated her privacy in a similar fashion, it was over between us. I agreed that those were healthy boundaries to establish, and acknowledged that my actions hurt her trust same as she hurt my own. Additionally, I knew that I didn't control her, and forced myself to believe that no true harm was done. I told myself that she had only texted with the guy in order to receive aid and there was no emotional cheating, so it was okay. I just hated being lied to. I told her that if she ever had financial problems again, and she felt the need to contact a sugar daddy, she would keep me in the loop at all times on the situation. This way, she could make rent off the disgusting fuckers, and I would have peace of mind. Seemed like a fair deal and she agreed to it. But throughout the last 3 months of our relationship, she never came to me about the deal we made. We spent a good amount of time together the following days as she wanted to give reassurance that she cared about me and was sorry. A week after the initial incident, I found myself feeling paranoid about the situation and decided to seek out another piece of the puzzle. She said that she had other sugar daddies in the past, but she only had her dad's friend while we were together. She had to have used some website to meet the others, so I began to research, because she was right, I knew nothing about SB/SD relationships. I looked up on Reddit sugar baby in my local area and found some posts talking about the best website to use. So I made an account and began to peruse. It wasn't long after filtering the women, I found my GF's profile. I thought to myself, perfect, I just want to see how she advertised herself. There was no indication of her advertising herself in a sexual way, she solely presented herself in the manner of companionship. My chest settled and I felt relieved, but then I shifted my eyes to last active date. She had been on her profile the night before I found her account, which if you're paying attention, was about 5 to 6 days after the initial conflict. I called her immediately and confronted her again. She was upset with me for looking her up and confessed that she did have account but that she hadn't been on it in ages and couldn't remember the last time. What's more consistent in its presentation of the truth? A girlfriend who kept a relationship ending detail from me or a website that maintains records of login dates. I chose to ignore logic and to believe her. Now I wasn't a fool by any means in any of this in regards to what I believed the truth to be. I knew deep down that she was not being completely forthright with me and continued to lie to me through her charade of openness and honesty. However, I was a fool in how I handled my thoughts. I pushed away and bottled up any feeling of disbelief so that I could rationalize the situation to fit her narrative. She didn't want to talk about it anymore, so I had to make up the missing bits in my head. I told myself over and over that her truth was the full and actual truth, while adding my own delusional imaginations to fill in the gaps to make the story make sense. And it worked. Temporarily. We were going strong for a month after that. During that month we had become much closer. I was able to start trusting her more, she was more open with me, we told one another we loved each other and that we could see ourselves together in the future. I was happy. Although we were happy and growing together, there was always a quiet voice in the back of my head, keeping alive doubt of her sincerity and candor. This voice caused me to subtly snoop around slightly during the 5th month of our relationship. Small things like checking the bathroom trash can to see if there were any used condoms, or if anything was left around from a guy. I didn't want to heavily invade her privacy again, and she was always around while we were at her apartment, naturally, and I didn't want to act suspicious. That is until she went on a weekend trip with her roommate and some friends. They went to a cabin where they had a fun little reunion. They partied a little bit, smoked weed, took some shrooms, but she made sure to call me and let me know everything was okay. She was being sweet. While she and her roommate were away, I volunteered to stay at her place and take care of her dog and cat. They were gone for 3 nights, and on the 3rd night, I found myself with a similar feeling from the night I first looked through her phone. The voice was louder now and I couldn't ignore it. I had to seek out the truth because I knew the situation didn't add up. I made it add up, and I made shit up. I looked around a little bit until I found her diary. I began to read it and one entry caught my attention. It was a diary entry from the day after I found the texts. She started by talking about how thankful she is for me and how much she cares about me. She went on to explain to her diary the situation and how thankful she was that I was an understanding BF and worked hard to move past it and forgive her. I read it through and I felt at peace, but then I read it again and noticed something was off. He found out about a sugar daddy. Another gut punch that hit twice as hard. I couldn't breathe and panic began to set in. I never knew the article, could bear such significance. She had not only now hidden the truth from me, but she lied when she told me he was the only one. I became frantic and began reading the rest of the diary entries, which were often paired with to-do lists. She never mentioned sugar daddies in her diary again. However, she had a couple bullet points leading up to when she left for the cabin which confirmed my initial thought. SD $300 meet 2 SDs, could my heart sink anymore? How was I supposed to handle reading that? I beat myself up by thinking about how I did it to myself, but all I wanted was the truth. The second time I violated her privacy in this manner, I found a second offense. I wasn't crazy, despite her telling me I was in the past for making a big deal of it. I couldn't bring it up to my GF because she had made it clear the relationship would be over if I violated her privacy again. I didn't want to call any friends close to the situation or my family, because I wanted to protect her image. So I called an old buddy of mine who happened to be awake. I explained the situation and he gave me very helpful and unbiased advice. We devised a plan where I would bring up the topic in the form of checking up on her and if she was financially stable. I would reassure her that even if stuff was happening during the past month, it is forgiven. I want to know the truth, and the truth from her would hurt less than finding it myself and it being hidden from me. If she confessed that she acted in any way to reignite her previous lifestyle, I would forgive her, deal with the truth, and continue with the relationship. But if she tells me that nothing is happening, I will end it. You already know how this is gonna go. I waited to bring it up until she was back home and recovered from her weekend. I brought her some food and gently brought the topic up. I asked her what I intended to. She responded with disbelief that I was crazy enough to still be overthinking the situation. She lied yet again. She began to question the relationship, but I fought back and urged her to reconsider, claiming to her and trying to convince myself that I had a weak moment and was indeed overthinking it. I felt defeated. I didn't have the backbone to stick to my plan. I was truly a coward and was ashamed of myself. I was willing to and did sacrifice my sanity and self-respect to remain with the girl I loved. That was the last of any SD conversation we ever had. I never brought it up again, nor did she ever come to me with the truth. It was the beginning of the end. We tried to have fun the last 2 months and succeeded at times, but she always felt that I didn't trust her, and she felt correct. I was constantly suspicious of her and my mind would race if an extended period of time passed during the day without contact. I knew I had to keep my cool though, so I didn't let my thoughts dictate my behavior and turn me into a desperate and clingy BF. Played it cool and just prayed that the situation would resolve itself while I ignored it and that maybe one day we could just be happy together. I believed that over time, if I ignored it long enough, it would just feel like a bad dream. I would still feel suspicious at times towards the end, but I was able to exist in my fairytale reality and believe my GF wasn't doing anything nor would do anything to ever hurt me. Then came our last night as a couple. We went out to a few different bars, I'm buying her a bunch of drinks, and we are having a good time. We end up at our usual spot with some friends and we are chatting on the side when she says something. I wasn't drunk, but I cannot for the life of me remember at all what she said. All I remember is that what she had said was something someone says when they want to break up. So I asked her if that was what she meant and she admitted it was. I sat there silently, listening to her reasoning, with a whole range of emotions inside of me. Sadness, anger, frustration, and relief. I was shocked. I felt relieved that she had done for me what I wasn't willing to do for myself. I think that feeling of relief is what kept me calm and allowed me to listen to her so intently. I am of course sad. I loved her, still do as I am writing this. It hurts significantly, but I caused no resistance and gave her the breakup. Her reasons were clichés disguised with sincerity, but I was more done with the relationship already than I had realized, so I gave it to her without a fight. I drove her back home that night as we had to go to a previous bar to find her phone, and that was it. We were done. Once I got home, I found myself full of sadness. The feeling of relief was gone and I sought comfort. I ended up texting an old friend, and I went to her place. We talked and she listened with care. Afterwards she wanted to cheer me up, so she put on my favorite movie which she remembered about me after so long. Just that gesture alone made me feel so comforted, a sort of gesture I couldn't remember receiving from my GF. During the movie we cuddled which eventually turned into sex. I felt so cared about and just warm. This specific time of intimacy was different in how affectionate it felt, which is something I had longed for and was deprived of during my relationship. It felt that this person really cared about me. Now I know throughout this I wasn't thinking clearly. I had drank some, and I was grieving a relationship, but that night gave me comfort and helped me rediscover the fact that I was in a bad relationship with a GF not showing me the respect and love I needed. I am not proud of going over to my friend's place that night. I know it is unhealthy to fill the void of a GF with another girl, as that is only a temporary fix in the moment and doesn't truly help move on from someone. But she helped me that night and I am eternally thankful to her for her kindness and comfort. As I am writing this, the breakup occurred 2 days ago. My friend moves out of the state tomorrow. She helped me that one night, but I have to do it myself from now on. There won't be any temptation now to take the temporary fix, especially since I am going to avoid going out for a good amount of time. Anyways, back to the story. We stayed up the whole night into morning talking until I left to go catch some sleep at my place. I woke up in the early afternoon and noticed some of my GF's things around my place. So I gathered them up and put it all in a bag. I wanted to get rid of it all, but I still respect her enough that I want to return it. I let her know I have some of her things and that I can drop it off whenever she is available to receive them. I wait several hours and she finally responds that the next day would work best and she would text me in the morning. The next morning came and I waited around for a text. Checked social media and saw she posted on her story several times about her night out. I know I wasn't a saint considering my actions an hour after the breakup, but I didn't publish my actions on social media. I may be crazy or it might be what people can do, but it just isn't cool to post stuff right after a breakup when it will certainly mess with the other person, especially if you're the one who dumped me. I decided to get some fresh air and sit in the park, which is when I came to another realization. Why would I do her one last favor and bring her belongings to her, when I did countless favors during the relationship? Don't be a doormat, I will not continue being a fool. So I told her that she would need to swing by my place to pick up her things. She agreed once she woke up and it wasn't until tonight that she finally told me she was on her way. When she arrived, she stayed out in her car. I walked out to her with the bag and set it in the passenger seat. We talked for roughly a minute where she began to cry, apologized for how she handled the breakup. She was sorry that she did it when we were out at a bar and while she was drunk. I let her off the hook and told her it was how she honestly felt, and if she felt the need to do it then and there, then so be it. One of the last things she told me stuck out to me and pissed me off immeasurably. "I just want you to know that I cared about you so much and I never lied to you." What the fuck? Not only did she admit to lies before, but I knew about lies she never admitted to me. But somehow I maintained my composure and let it roll off my back. I just nodded and told her I would see her around. This happened about 12 hours ago as it is almost 7 in the morning. Once she left I watched a show, played some games, then tried going to bed. But what the hell, that little voice was back. I had the urge again to look her up. I went to the same website and found her profile again. She had a new one as she probably deleted the old one after I found it months ago. I didn't care this time how she marketed herself, I just cared about the dates for member joined. She had made another profile the day that we broke up. Sometime before we hung out and went out, she decided that she was going to make a new profile and did. After finding it, I was livid. I don't know exactly why, maybe because she ended up being a different person than the one I loved. But probably because we had a nice last day together and a good night out, all the while she had consciously made the decision to make a new SB profile. Not only that, but she waited to break up after she had clearly made up her mind. That's my story. I apologize for the excess in details about my personal life, but I just found her new profile a few hours ago and didn't know how to channel my anger. I read some posts online and decided maybe the best thing for myself would be to write and get my thoughts out. I am looking for any good tips or pieces of advice. I want to avoid any sort of backslide. I got rid of our connections on social media already. How should I move on from this situation in a healthy way and avoid lying and distrust in future relationships?